Hello and welcome to everyone listening to the Written in Melanin podcast. Wherever this day may have found you, I'm glad that you're here. I'm here today with Alonge Hawes, and he is the mind behind Black on Both Sides and Blue Collar Hustle, both of which are featured on SikaTV.com. Is it .com? I think it's .com.
Yes.
He joined us on episode 9 of the podcast, if you guys want to check that out. And he is back today to talk with us about his upcoming projects. And I can't wait. So let's just get into this. First of all, welcome back to the podcast, sir.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Glad to have you back. So the last time that we talked, you were working on a few things, had some things going on, and said that you would come back when you could talk about those things. You're back.
I'm back.
So, fill us in on what's been going on since, it's 2020, new year, new things happening.
Yeah, new things happening. Good things happened. Black on Both Sides, the first season recently, we won Best Screenplay at the Honor Roll Film Awards, which I'm very proud of. This is the third year in a row that we've actually been an award winner for the Honor Roll Film Awards. So
that's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. That was pretty exciting. And that was the first award that we won for the writing aspect. Oh. So I was very honored by that.
Awesome. So I know that you wear pretty much all the hats when it comes to creating these, but when it comes to the writing aspect, are you the only one who writes it, or do you have someone to help you, or you have a sounding board?
No, I'm the sole writer.
Oh, that's even doubly impressive. So double congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So you're writing literally award-winning. Is it still technically considered a web series, or is it considered?
It's considered. I mean, you can call it. Honestly, you can call it what you want. I prefer digital series just because it sounds better. But yeah, web series too. I mean, you can say web series. You can say digital series. Yeah, anything created, to be utilized for streaming or on the web, is a web series.
Okay. Well, I will use the phrase digital series since that's what you prefer, and it's your baby, so I'm not going to insult it.
Thank you.
But so that being said, can you sort of talk us through what your screen? It is technically screenwriting, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So can you tell us what your process is like, what that looks like? Because I mean, you're literally creating greatness, award-winning greatness.
Thank you. It goes. The way it starts is different almost every time. Sometimes it could be a title, sometimes it could be a character name, sometimes it could be an idea. A lot of the times, episodes are based off conversations that I'll have with my friends or collaborators or just actors on the set, and it'll just stem an idea. And then what I do is, once that idea takes hold, if I feel like it's strong enough to carry an episode, what I'll do is I will usually get on my phone and I'll write an outline for the episode. And so the outline consists of basically the setup, rising action, climax, and then falling action. So what I'll do is I'll write it out point by point just to make sure that I have a beginning, middle, and end. A lot of the times I'll have either the beginning of an episode in my head or I'll have the ending. I'm like, okay, I know exactly how I want this to end. So you just have to fill in the blanks. Or I know exactly how I want this to end. So then, or begin. So you have to go from there. So after I have the outline done, then I know it's time to write. And so when it's time to write, I basically just go from my outline. My outline, I feel like it's sort of like my first draft.
Okay.
And then I just go from there to actual screenwriting. And so when I actually start the writing process, it usually takes me a day or two to finish the script. And once I finish the script, I'll send it to my producers to just get their feedback. And if everybody agrees that the episode makes sense and it's a strong episode, then we'll go from there. We'll just send it out to the actors and say, let's go.
Okay. Well, I was following you all through that, and I was just okay, I know it's screenwriting, and screenwriting is different than novel writing,
right.
But it's that beginning process all the way up until you're okay, and that's when I actually write the script.
Right.
It's it's pretty much the same, which I find impressive because it's just a lot of times you can get caught up in thinking, oh no, these are two completely separate things. There's no way that these things are related. And it's just at the end of the day, it all boils down to we're all still writers. We're all still writing. So I like that, your process works. And I know it sounds so crazy, but I love that like writing is both like really simple when you're explaining it, but also really complicated
Right?
when
No,
you
it
have to
is.
sit down and do it.
No, it's crazy because it is. It's really simple. Like you said, it's really simple, but then it can also be really complex. I mean, the actual what I tell people is that writing is writing at the end of the day, especially if we're talking about creative writing.
Yeah.
Whether you're writing scripts, novels, poetry, anything that you want to write creatively, at the end of the day, it's got to come from your heart. So if you're writing something from your heart, then it's going to be simple, but the way you actually get everything down on paper or how typing it or what have you may be very complex.
Very true. So I guess it also brings up the question of, do you decide on where your episode breaks are going to be while you're doing your outline, or do you figure that out as you're writing the script and you're just like, okay, this would be a good place to stop before going into the next one? Like, how does that work?
Well, for scene breaks, that usually comes with the writing. What I'll do is basically in the setup. The setup can usually take, for me, the setup can usually take 3 to 4 scenes. Depends on what I'm doing. And then when we get into the rising action, that'll be another 3 to 4 scenes. And so what I'll do is I say at the end of each outline, I say, what am I trying to say here? So I'm saying we're going to set up this character for this. We're going to say this character is this. We're going to foreshadow this. And by the end of the episode or end of the season, this is going to happen. So what I do is usually the scene breaks come with the writing itself, but there's a lot of structure that goes into it when I do the outlines.
Okay. And this is probably the last question along this vein. I'm just really curious. So, like,
No worries.
So do you decide at the beginning, like once you have your idea, how long it's going to be, like versus if it's going to be like 8 episodes versus 12 episodes versus like you need like 15 or 5, like the episode, how many episodes they're going to be, and also like the length of them? Do you decide that while you're writing it, or is it just something that comes naturally, like, oh, there's a natural break in the scene here, and so it makes sense to stop it here? Like, how does that work?
Before I start actual writing and before I break everything down, I'll do a season outline, and the season outline will tell me how many episodes I feel like I need. I usually start with a goal, and I'm very strict on myself. I say I'm going to stick to that goal. So, for instance, like the very first season of Blue Collar Hustle was 6 episodes because I felt like, number one, we were brand new, and number two, as a proof of concept, I felt like 6 episodes would be really good for the story and really good for the actors and really good for all of us. And then I said, okay, season 2, we're going to do 10 because there was a lot more story to tell and a lot more I wanted to say. And then with Black on Both Sides, I feel like 8 episodes is enough for me to say what I want to say and to get the story across. So for me, I just sit down and it really starts with what type of story am I trying to tell. So whatever type of story I'm trying to tell will let me know how many episodes I feel like I need. And I've been really good at keeping to that. To date, knock on wood, I haven't felt like I needed to go under or over.
Okay, now that's impressive because it's just like you're literally the first writer that I've met who's like, yeah, so if I say that I'm going to write this amount, I actually write this amount and I don't go over and under. So that's an impressive skill in and of itself. I feel like you deserve an award for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I just try to be with the writing. I want to be very, very disciplined on myself because what you don't want to do is you don't want to go over and then have what we call filler. Yeah. You never want to have any type of filler. So every time I'm trying to say something, I really want to just hit the nail on the head as soon as we do it. So if I say, okay, I feel like I need 8, then I'm like, okay, in 8, I feel like I have everything that I need to say and I presented it to you in a way that's going to make sense.
Yeah, but I appreciate that, like, as the person who's ending up watching it, because you how do I say this nicely? You don't want filler. You want each scene to feel like, okay, it needed to be here, because just right. Like when you're writing a novel, people will say, okay, if you don't need that in your book, take it out because right. Readers don't want to read it. Same thing when you're watching. Like, if you don't need it, take it out.
Now, what I don't do is I don't censor myself as far as how many pages an episode is. So usually, you try to fit an episode into the standard 22 to 25 minute format. And lately I've been doing that more just because it's come more natural to me. But I always say I reserve the right to make an episode as long as it needs to be. And when I spoke at Minnesota Web Fest last year, I told people straight up, a lot of people will say that a web series or an episode of a web series should be 5 to 10, maybe to 15 minutes. And I tell them straight up, I can't tell you how it feels to be Black in 15 minutes. I can barely tell you in 25 to 30 minutes.
Right.
So I don't censor myself when it comes to that.
I like that because I feel like with the culture that we're in, like it's a digital series. You're on the internet. Like people are going to watch it at their own leisure. So to say that it has to fit into this mold of like 5 to 10 minutes, it's just like why? Like even when you watch cable TV, I don't know who does that anymore. But if you do, they have longer episodes now. Like a lot of shows are like an hour long.
Right. Right.
It's not just 30-minute time blocks anymore. So, and again, you're on the internet. Like
Right.
people are seeking you out. Why can't it be whatever it needs to be? And I feel like that allows you as the creator to tell a better story when you're not trying to stuff yourself into a box and be like, okay, if this is 18 minutes, now I have to come up with like another 6 minutes of content. I don't know if that math adds up. I'm not good at that. But or if you're like at 35 minutes and being like, okay, I need to cut 10 minutes of this out, but all of it is important.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I really respect that you hold yourself to that. Like, I can do the 25-minute thing. That's just me. But it's like I reserve the right to
Right.
break that rule at any time. Because that's what writers do anyway. Like if you write novellas or write short stories, you could be like, at any time, I could
Yep.
write a whole length novel if I want to.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
So I like it. I like it a lot. So following that train of thought, something that I've always been kind of curious about is, are you a self-taught writer or like have you taken writing courses, writing classes? Like where does that skill of yours come from?
Honestly, I'm self-taught, and it comes from my mother and father.
Mhm.
My mother and father were really big on the writing aspect and expressing yourselves through writing or performance art. When me and my siblings were young,
Mhm.
especially my father when it comes to the writing aspect. My mother was the performance aspect, and my father
Wow.
was the writing aspect. So honestly, I wouldn't even say self-taught. I would give most of the credit to my father. He taught me, and so I was
Okay.
always writing poetry and short stories when I was younger, and things of that nature. So it was just a natural evolution for me to actually get into screenwriting as a storyteller.
Okay. So that being said, since you are self-taught, if there are people out there who are like watching you and they're like, "Hey, I want to do that. Like I want to do what he's doing. I want to write my own stories, create and tell my own stories, but I don't know how to do that. Like I haven't gone to school for this. I don't know what I'm doing." What would you say would be the first step? And you can't say just write because
No,
everybody says that.
no. And I wouldn't honestly. One word: research. Research. And honestly, that's what I do. I always say that Spike Lee movies and Donald Glover shows and everything that's my film school. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
research. So whatever inspired you, research that person or research that entity. Go back, reread every interview. I mean, they'll actually tell you what they did. If you follow their story, they'll tell you what they did. Donald Glover actually tells you every step of the way in every interview he does what he did to get to this point. Spike Lee, the same way, will tell you what he did to get to his point. Ava DuVernay will tell you what she did to get to a certain point. Now, Spike Lee he was from New York Film School. He went to Morehouse and he went to New York Film School. But a lot of things that he did coming up were unorthodox. And a lot of stuff he did was actually on the fly filmmaking. So he took the skills that he learned and actually mixed it with his own personal flavor, and that's the director we have today.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have to do is you just have to research honestly, and they'll point you in the right direction. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
really big advocate of studying and researching.
I like that because I feel like that's something that as writers we tend to like gloss over because we like to, like I said, we tend to float to that advice of just write, just write, just write, just write. But if you're kind of at that point of, okay, I've been writing, but like, and I know I want to do this, but I need like more instruction.
Right.
I feel like that's something that people like to gloss over, especially creatives. We don't like to just like sit down and look up stuff sometimes unless we're procrastinating. And it's just like, research, look up the people. And I like that you pointed out, like, if you ask people, and this is something that even now I'm learning, like, if you just ask people, like, hey, what did you do? What works for you? They will tell you because they're going to feel honored that you're asking them.
Right.
They're going to feel flattered.
Yep.
And two, it's something that a lot of people who have already made it, they don't necessarily want to hide the path from you. It's just like, it can be done. It's not necessarily easy, but it
Right.
for sure can be done if you're willing to put in the work.
Absolutely.
So again, it's just like that same advice of like when people are like, read what you want to write and understand what you're getting yourself into. And I guess also understanding that what you see in your own writing as amateurish versus something that you see in somebody else's writing that looks professional, realizing what that difference is, and then like meditating on how do I close the gap between this and that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you can even read spec scripts. I mean, scripts are out there for some of the TV shows and movies that we hold dear, that you can actually read the script and you can use that script as a template.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but like, do you have any like mentorship type people in your life where either you have a mentor or you are mentoring other people? Anything like that?
Not as of right now, and not because it's not something that I wouldn't like to do. I would actually love to do it, just because I'm so busy. It's just such a busy thing going forward, being creative and having so many hands in the pot.
Yeah.
But through my production company that I run with my producers, A Million Stories, One Pen Productions. That's actually something that we're actually looking to do in the future. I would love to produce the stories of others, so I would love for a creator to come and say, hey, I have an idea, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I help point them in the right direction and just help produce that. I would actually love to do that. So that's something that I'm looking forward to do in the future. It really just takes the right talent to come along to really inspire both of us.
I definitely agree with that.
Inspire me.
Yeah, because like when I started Written in Melanin Publishing, it's like that's kind of how I felt too. It's like I want to be in a position to be able to help other authors get to where they want to go, and it's just like, cool. I love your writing, and you trust me with this, so like let's team up, let's do this together.
Right.
And I'm with you on the busy part. Like I would love to be in a position to like help other people. Like in my mind, I'm always like younger people because I always think like high school, but there are also like older people who are like, I want to do this. I just don't know where to start.
Absolutely.
But just to be able to have that, I think it would be amazing, especially like for you, especially because you're talented. And it's one thing to be talented, and then it's a completely other thing to have people acknowledge your talent. And I feel like you fall into that second category where people acknowledge your talent. And I just feel like that's amazing, and I'm really excited for you and your writing and everything that you're doing and everywhere that you're going. Like I'm psyched for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I have a whole list of things that I want to ask you. So I'm going to try to stay focused.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. We can chop it up.
Okay, so since we are talking about people who inspire you, like I know you mentioned a couple of names earlier, like Spike Lee, Donald Glover. Are those the people who inspire you, or is there like a specific movie, specific scene, specific film, specific writer, whatever, who just like really inspires you? Not necessarily to have gotten you into what you're doing now, but like as you're in it and you're continuing to grow in it, like kind of what do you look at, go to, always fall back towards? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, like I said, my very first inspiration was my father, President Hawes. So I give him credit for everything. He was my first inspiration. And if I'm ever feeling down or if I'm ever feeling some type of way, I was ask myself, what would he do? Because my father wasn't a creative in the traditional sense, but he always had creative ways of solving problems or going about issues. And he always pushed us to think the same way and to think outside the box and to think differently. And when there were some times when we were coming up, and certain kids or certain entities are doing one thing, you're doing another thing, you may not always fit in. But my dad used to always tell me, I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong. And when I grew up, I was really like, damn, he like 98% of the time he was always right. Wow, So it's just like, first and foremost my father, and then on the creative side, yes, I have to say Spike Lee, I have to say Donald Glover, and I have to say Issa Rae are the top three for me. Oh, and Gerard Carmichael as well. So I have to say, if I had like a top four, if I had like a Mount Rushmore, they would definitely be on it. And I would say Donald Glover for the simple fact that I just feel like his writing is just so damn good. It's just so good. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, I look at Atlanta and I'm just like, okay, if I can't do it to that level, then there's no point in doing it. So like I set the bar like that. I say from 1 to Atlanta. I honestly think Atlanta is the greatest television show that has ever come out. It's so multi-layered. the writing is exceptional every time. His writing is exceptional every time, and so I just kind of studied that. And then with Spike Lee was kind of like my first film hero. One of the first movies that I remember watching at a young age was Do the Right Thing with my father.
Okay.
And then after that, Malcolm X, watched that at a young age, Mo Better Blues, Clockers, all the way up to a very underrated movie he put out, Chirac, that I thought was really underrated, and then Black Klansman. So with Spike Lee, because a lot of people would say like he's preaching or his message is ham-fisted, but sometimes I'm of the notion like, number one, I'm not going to do anything if there's no message behind it. If I don't have something to say, I'm never going to do it. And number two, I feel like sometimes Black people need to hear these things. Sometimes like I would rather you really know where I stand, than sometimes having to make it murky. Now, sometimes for the sake of story, you want to leave things up to interpretation, and you don't want to always give people what you feel like the answer is, because that may not be the right answer.
Yeah.
But I always want you to know through my art where I stand on specific topics. And I feel like he does that bravely, and he doesn't back down for anybody. So when it comes to those entities, yeah. And then with Issa Rae is so natural. I feel like when I watch Insecure, I feel like I'm watching like a natural progression of an artist. And I really want everything that I do and my team to do to be very natural. Like, I don't want it to come off forced. Issa Rae doesn't come off forced. The comedy, the writing, the acting, none of it comes off forced to me. It all feels natural. Like I'm actually watching somebody that I may know secondhand. So it's just those entities.
Like, I'm listening to you and I'm just like, wow, like, okay, so not necessarily those people, but like those aspects that you're pointing out, it's just like, yeah, that's kind of how like I, in my own mind, like separate what I am trying to achieve. It's just like, okay, this is like, we're not talking about me, so I'm gonna try to keep this short, but it's just like for me, and I'm a Harry Potter nerd, whatever, I claim that.
Harry Potter, I got you, me too. Oh yeah, I claim that all day.
So it's just like, and for me, it was just like Harry Potter and the level of intricacy that she wrote into the books, and how there were so many levels to it, where it was like, it was for kids and it was for young adults, but it was also for like older adults, and there was something there for everybody. Absolutely. That it hit at different levels. Absolutely. It's like, I want it to be, that's like what I want to be at someday. Like, I want to be able to write that level of complexity into a story. And it to be, like you said with Issa Rae, I want it to be natural. I want it to be effortless, because like when you were reading it, you weren't like, oh, this is specifically for the war. Oh, this is specifically for Harry. Oh, this is specifically for Hermione. No, it was just all woven together. And it was a natural progression of the story. Absolutely. And as I've been reading more as an adult, I've just been coming across more and more books where it's just like, okay, these stories sound like somebody who, like, I'm sitting down with a friend over lunch and they're just telling me something that happened to somebody. Absolutely. And that's the feeling that I want to incorporate into my stories. Like, I never want it to feel so detached where it's like, oh yeah, it was just a book. Like, no, like I want it to feel like it was personal. Yep.
Yep. And as huge as, just a little segue, as huge as Harry Potter is, it's crazy because sometimes I feel like it's underrated as literature, because it's a huge franchise now.
It is.
But as literature, like, I'm not saying it's War and Peace, but I feel like, honestly, like you said, the level of complexity and the level of world building she did, and the way she was able to engage kids, young adults, and adults all at the same time, like, I'm sorry. You gotta give it. No, you gotta give it up.
You have to, because it's just like, and I agree with you. And the thing, I guess, that gets me, especially now as an adult, and like, people have completely, I don't want to say blown it out of proportion, because that's what books and literature and film and anything that moves you does. It gets into your skin and it becomes something that is more than what it was. But at the end of the day, when you peel away all the personal things with J.K. Rowling, and you peel away the films, and you peel away everything else, and you just take the books as they are, like you said, they're literature. Because the fact is, very few people have done what she has done. Absolutely. And very few people can do what she has done. Absolutely. It's not something that people can just do, because if you could, you'd have tons and tons of things. But what I always found super interesting is how like when Twilight was really big, you had a ton of vampire and werewolf books just everywhere. Mm-hmm. And But when Harry Potter was big, maybe it was just me in my very small little bubble, but I didn't see a whole bunch of like Wizarding World books popping up about witches and wizards and all this.
Not
No,
really,
because
no.
it's because she did it so well. It's just like, okay, hats off to you. This is your thing.
Right.
I can't replicate it. I can't emulate it. I will just appreciate it for what it is.
Absolutely.
And that's just that, again, that's the level that I would like to one day get to. I know I'm not there yet, but it's like, again, when I go back and read it, it's just like, how do I get here? Like I'm not as far as I used to be, but I'm still not quite there yet.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Right.
But when you say that, people are like, "Oh, J.K. Rowling, we don't support Harry Potter no more," and all this, that, and that. But I'm like, the woman is separate from the creation. Like you can appreciate the literature without necessarily loving the person who wrote it. You know,
I don't necessarily feel like she's done anything to like need to be completely canceled over.
I don't think. Here's the thing, and this is where I stand. I feel like everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I feel like, especially in our internet culture, that you're only entitled to your opinion as long as you agree with everyone else.
Right.
If your opinion does not line up
with it.
Yeah, like if like you and I agree, then it's fine. But the minute you disagree with me, oh no, you're wrong.
Right.
It's just like, it's an opinion.
Right.
And we live in a country where you have free speech and everybody is allowed to have one, and it doesn't have to align with yours, and you still have to respect that. And you can respect their opinion without agreeing with it and without deciding that everything that they've ever done in their entire life is not worth supporting anymore.
Right.
You know, but that's me and my opinion, which I am entitled to.
Absolutely. So, I completely understand.
But yeah, sorry, kind of got off on a little tangent there, but I love talking about writing. It gets me so excited. I get hyped and I get distracted. But all that being said, you said that you wanted to, last time we talked on the last episode of the podcast, you said that you were going to be working on 2 projects in 2020.
Yep.
And you said that you couldn't really tell us about those projects until 2020.
Yep.
Well, it's 2020 and you're back on the podcast. Yep. So please tell us what those projects are. And
it's crazy because I manifested that on this podcast, and so that's why I had to give you a shout out the other day, because I literally manifested it like that day on the podcast. So
dope.
So what it is basically, yes, there are 2 projects in the works, and this is an exclusive. This is the first time I'm really talking about either one of them. So the news just broke today on one project, and the news will break next week on the other project. But I'm gonna tell you about both of them.
Yes.
So the first project that just broke today, 6 months ago, I sent a pitch, and just to go back in time a little bit. My goal has always been to be at the forefront of African American storytelling, and to tell stories that are relevant to African Americans and the greater Black diaspora, while also being entertaining, having something to say, and just really, I feel like, rewriting the Black American story. So that was my goal from the moment I decided to put pen and paper and say, I'm going to do this. So I try to reach out to different groups that have interests in African American storytelling, whatever have you. And so 6 months ago, I sent a series pitch. I had a brand new series that I was thinking about, and I sent the pitch to a company called Jarro Media Services. And Jarro Media Services is a Black-owned streaming company.
Black-owned?
Yeah, they're a Black-owned streaming company, and I've been working with them, honestly, since Blue Collar Hustle. Since the first season of Blue Collar Hustle, I've been working with them.
Okay.
They actually stream Blue Collar Hustle Season 1 now, and they will be streaming Blue Collar Hustle Season 2 in the near future. And so Mr. Richard Devon, a very nice guy, very professional, was always very encouraging to me at the very beginning. Was one of the very first, besides Stika TV and Quilly TV, he was one of the first entities to really show a lot of faith in my abilities and my vision. So when I sent the series pitch, I was like, hey, listen, I know that streaming and exclusive content, that's how streaming companies are going to make their bread and butter in the near future. And the near future right now is now. So not only do you have Netflix or Hulu, you have HBO Max coming out in May, which is a streaming company. You have Disney Plus, which recently just launched.
Right.
So you have CBS All Access. You have a million different streaming platforms, and the only thing that is going to differentiate them is exclusive content. I can only go here to watch this. So I said, I have a series that I feel like would be a great home. Jar would make a great home for it. And I sent a pitch and I said, such and such amount for such and such amount, and I want full creative control of the show. And so he hit me back 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And he said, hey, sorry for hitting you back so late. Going through some restructuring, going through different things with the platform. But I do feel as if your pitch is good. Is the offer still on the table?
Hey.
So I'm like, yeah, the offer's still on the table. So we had a really great meeting, had a really great conversation, and they went ahead and they greenlit the project.
That is amazing.
Yes. So
that is so amazing.
Yes. So the project is going to be in collaboration with my production company, A Million Stories, One Pen Productions, and Jar Media. And Jar Media will be the exclusive home for this new series.
Hey, can you tell us the name of the series, or is that still under wraps?
It is. I'll tell you.
Okay.
It's under wraps, but I'll tell you.
Okay.
It's called Silver and Gold.
Okay.
And it is if you were to take Bonnie and Clyde, an anime like Cowboy Bebop.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. And modern day, and put it in a blender. That's what Silver and Gold is.
I'm gonna watch it.
And that's all I can tell you right now.
I'm gonna watch it.
That's all I can tell you right now. But it's gonna be really good.
Still gonna watch it.
Thank you. It's gonna be much different from anything I've ever done, but it's still gonna have the Alonge Hawes flavor. It's an Alonge Hawes original series. Like I said, I don't do anything without having something to say. So I definitely have something to say. But I wanted to do something. Number one, I wanted to show Black love in a way that wasn't screaming Black love. Like
Gotcha.
Sometimes you can come off preachy or ham-fisted, but I feel like when it comes to Black love, you don't really need to punch people in the face with it. Just show it.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. How about let's just show it? So that was my very first inspiration for the series was I wanted to show Black love, but I want to do it in a very stylish, sexy, really fun and entertaining way. So that's what we're gonna do. I feel like it's gonna be really great. I'm really excited. Jaro's really excited. And yeah, we're gonna do it.
I'm excited for you because, first of all, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I'm like the largest anime nerd. Like aside from this podcast, my husband and I run another podcast together that we started actually before this, and it's called I'd Rather Anime. Okay. And all we do is like watch anime, and he gets the brunt of it, but like a lot of what we watch, I'm like dissecting it, like the characters and the plot and the world building and all of it. And because it's just like, for me, I'm like, being American, I'm immersed in American culture constantly. So watching anime, it's just like, that comes from a completely different culture. Right. So being able to see the different aspects of it and the different ways that they do it and the ways that are similar, I just feel like, wow, that is amazing. So the fact that you're taking two things that are like so wildly different, like, because in my mind, as you were talking, I was like, okay, Bonnie and Clyde, and then you're like Cowboy Bebop. And in my mind, I just saw a Black version of Bonnie and Clyde animated. And I was just like, oh, this is about to be dope. And then I'm thrilled. Like, I'm so excited. And then you're talking about the aspect of Black love. And it's just like, I don't like to call myself a romance writer, but like the first book that I ever wrote and published is a romance. And it's like, I love the idea that you're exploring it in the way that, like, not the fact that, it is Black love, but just like Black people fall in love too, like in and out of love. And it's just a natural thing. It's not something like, I don't want to say unique, but it's just like, it's not unique. People have been doing this for literally centuries.
Right, exactly. So I'm really excited to explore it and to get into it. And like I said, this is something that I've really wanted. This is like one of those things that, like, when you're a kid, when you're like 15, 16 and you're watching anime and you're like, oh, I want to do my own, So this is one of those like literally like dream come true passion projects, like composition notebook, 15 years old, sitting in the back of class, just like dreaming about what I would do. And so this is like that, so I'm like really excited. The team's really excited. I got off the phone with my boy Quentin. He actually stars in Blue Collar Hustle as Quan, and he stars in Black on Both Sides as Saul Matthews. So he's been with me since the beginning. I got off the phone with him, and he actually sent me some music. He's going to score the soundtrack.
Dope.
Yeah, so he actually sent me some music, and I was like, "This is it. This is what I wanted. Yes, let's get started." I'm so jazzed about that. So yeah, so we're gonna be doing that, and the second project is Black on Both Sides season 2.
Okay.
We got the green light from Sika TV in early February.
Whoop
And
whoop.
so we're actually right now we're actually in active pre-production on season 2 of Black on Both Sides, and there'll be an official announcement and maybe a little visual teaser next week.
Okay, I have to keep an eye out for it.
Yes.
Because like I kind of wish I just could like binge it, but I understand how things work, so I would be patient.
Yes, be patient because it's coming. We're like I said, we're filming. We're in pre-production right now, and I'll get with Sika. But we always usually launch with Sika. We usually launch in the fall, kind of like traditional series do, and it really works out for us because we always do our world premieres at the Minnesota Web Fest, and they've been really big supporters of us as well. So that really kind of works for us. So yeah, I'm really excited to show the next chapter in Black on Both Sides. I feel like it's going to be very, very interesting where you see the characters pick up for where they left off and see their journey in season 2. It's gonna be really interesting, and I feel like I have a lot to say about the state of Black consciousness and the state of Black America today.
Okay. Well, I'm not even going to try to follow that up, but if you're listening to the podcast, like you heard it here, like you literally heard it here first because this is an exclusive. So keep an eye out because he's making moves and he's making waves and he is doing his thing and it's going to be amazing. And I don't know how you can listen to these subscriptions and not be completely hyped and psyched and just like ready to just click and download and watch everything and then tell everybody else to go watch it. So if you weren't thinking that, that's exactly what you need to do. Just throwing that out there.
Thank you.
But that being said, like since you're on the podcast and you manifested this last time, like what's coming up next? Like it's only March. We're like in literally the first week of March, and you've already manifested your goal for 2020. So like what's coming next? What's coming down the pipeline other than that?
Like, so coming down the pipeline, well this year's gonna be pretty busy filming. I'm gonna film basically 2 series back to back. So I'll probably be, usually we finish filming in like May-ish, no later than June-ish, but I'm pretty much gonna be filming probably until October, November-ish. So next year, I have another idea that I want to do. I have another idea that I want to do that I think is going to be really good. This one's going to be a little bit more grounded than Black on Both Sides or Silver and Gold. So it's going to be probably a little bit more, I don't want to say a little bit more relatable because I feel like everything I do, is relatable, but I feel like I would say grounded. This one's going to be a little bit more grounded and it's gonna be something. This is basically my thesis of Black males in America.
Okay.
And I want to do something. I feel like there's so much complexity with being a Black man in America, both good and bad. A lot of things the world puts on us, but a lot of things we kind of put on ourselves.
Yeah.
And I want to be very, very, very fair, and I want to be very honest in my portrayals of Black men, because I don't subscribe to this notion that Black men are trash. Black men are, as a monolith or this. There's so much Black men are this, Black men are that, whether it be good or bad. There's so much of it. So I want to be really fair in my portrayals of Black men, and I'm very sensitive towards that. I'm very sensitive towards the portrayals of Black women as well. But as a Black man, I really always try to like put my best foot forward because I know that there are eyes on me, and the last thing I want to be, I hate being thought of as like one of those Black men. Don't care about the community, don't care about Black women, don't care about progression of the race, just out here doing whatever they portray us as. So I'm very sensitive toward that, but something that I'm sensitive to, I feel like, to make great art.
For sure, and I appreciate the fact that you're doing that because it's just like, I obviously as a Black woman, but also being married to a Black man and, knowing Black men, it's just like, there are so many facets and there's so many different parts of the story. And I've always thought that it's not fair that people don't let Black men be more than one thing. And it's just like you don't see people doing that to like literally any other culture. Like
Right.
People are people, like regardless of the color of their skin. People are people, and they can be whatever they want to be. And it's like, yes, there are those quote unquote stereotypical ones who are thugs and drug dealers, but that's not the majority.
Right,
And
exactly. It's not. So like I said, it's an idea that I have that I want to pursue in 2021, and I think that it's going to be something that's really good. So again, manifestation.
manifest it, and then when you do it,
Yep.
come back on the
Absolutely.
podcast,
Absolutely.
and we're gonna talk about
it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But this year, the plate is full. I don't know if I could put anything more on my plate if I wanted to.
You probably could if you really, really wanted to. You probably can.
Really, it would have to be like the best idea ever, and then I'd be like, and then there's always room, but like everything's not always worthy of that room. So I got two really worthy concepts, two really worthy series that I feel like is going to be great, and yeah, I'm super excited. I'm really excited for you to see both Black on Both Sides season 2 and so.
I'm excited. I'm sorry. I know you guys listen to the podcast can't see me, but I'm literally just over here like grinning my face off. Like I am so excited about all of this. And it's like not just for like my own personal benefit because I get to watch it, but like just like who I am, I love seeing like Black men and Black women prosper, especially when they're like helping each other and building each other up. So the fact that your new project is going to be streaming on a Black-owned streaming by a Black-owned streaming company, and it's just like, yes, work together, build each other up. I love it. I love all of it. And I'm just excited from like top to bottom. Like everything about this just sounds absolutely amazing to me. And I also love that you are making these opportunities for yourself and that you are bold enough to take advantage of the opportunities and also to reach out to them. Because, you know, as a creative, I know that sometimes we can have the mindset, oh, I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to wait for somebody to discover me and then I'll make it big. So the fact that you're like, yeah, no, I'm going to email you and I'm going to send you an offer of how you can work with me. Like a lot of people don't take on that mindset. And that's the mindset that you have to take on. Like, I got something that you're going to want. Let me tell you about it. And then you can come at me with the money, you know?
Right. And that's how you build, not just a name, but that's also how you build leverage. You know, you want to always have at least some type of leverage in everything you do. You know,
absolutely.
Just really, it's funny because we're just looking at this thing with Megan Thee Stallion and her contract situation, and I've been really fascinated by it and reading up on it. Just because when it comes to things like contracts and the verbiage and the wordage of contracts, and you know, you think you're signing something and it's really something else. You know, you have to make sure, number one, you have the leverage, and number two, you have to make sure that what you're signing or what you're being presented with is the best thing for you. You know, because when you're brand new, you don't really have a lot of leverage, and that's why I said I always wanted to come to the table with leverage.
Yeah, and also understand what you are worth, you know, because it's like, even if you don't have that leverage, if you know, like, let's do something really simple. Let's say that, you know, I want to work with you and you're offering me $5, but I know I'm worth 10.
Right.
It's just like, even if you're trying to confuse me with all of this wordage and all this verbiage, and you're trying to go around and make it sound like, oh, but you get this and you get that and you get this and you get that. But at the end of the day, you're not actually paying me that $10 and you're not making it worth my while to compensate for that $5 you're not going to pay me, then it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you offer me, because at the end of the day, it's like, this is what I need. This is what I'm worth. And I'm not going to sell myself short. But I'm not really caught up on everything that's going on with Meg Thee Stallion. All I know is what I see like in the bits and pieces on Twitter. And I always take everything with a grain of salt, because I'm like, let's be real here. Like, y'all, people want to complain because she signed something and she didn't understand what it was to its fullest extent. But it's like, how many of you guys would have understood what you were signing to its fullest extent without a lawyer or somebody there telling you? And you can absolutely hire a lawyer and they not be for your best interest. I know, because that's happened to me before. Some people are just out to get money and they'll tell you, oh, it's okay, go ahead and sign it. And the person that you trust is giving you ill advice. And on top of that, it's like, can you also imagine, like, just as writers, you know, you have been writing and you have been studying your craft and you've been improving and you have gone through this whole process of querying and finding an agent, and somebody offers you a contract. you're going to be so excited. Half of you is going to be like, I don't care what you offer me, sign it so I can go ahead and do what I need to do.
Right.
But it's like you have to take a minute to step back and read through it. And the reality of it is she's a person. Like, people make mistakes and people put their signature on things that they shouldn't put signatures on. But that doesn't mean that they're dumb. That doesn't mean that they didn't do their due diligence.
Right.
It just means that sometimes you get caught in a bad situation.
Right.
It happens.
Absolutely.
You know, but that being said, for all of you writers out there, if someone offers you a contract, 100% read it through word for word. And if you don't understand, ask them to tell you what it means in layman's term, because if they can't tell you, then you don't need to put your name on it.
Right.
That's just what it boils down to.
Any company that comes to you and says you have 24 hours, you have 48 hours, this and that, or they want you to sign, that's probably not the company you want to be with.
No, because if somebody really wants you, they're going to be like, take your time. You need to get it to your lawyer. That's fine. Go ahead and send it to your lawyer. We'll give you time. And they might give you a time limit, but that time limit should be no less than 90 days.
Exactly.
You know, if they're saying, hey, you have like 2 weeks to get back to us, unless it's of time sensitive matter.
Right.
No. That's shady.
Yeah, too shady.
But that's your life advice for today.
That's
from
right. That's
Alonge and C.
Right. Yes, that's that's the life advice for today. Have your leverage. Make sure you read your contracts, and make sure that you have somebody else look over your contracts, unless you're the one who drew up the contract. That's another thing. You can drop your own contracts.
You can.
Mm-hmm. You can set your own.
Done that too.
You agree with them, or you might have to negotiate them. But if you write it and you have the verbiage in there and you created it, then you're always gonna be on some type of level playing ground.
Yeah, and also going back to the very, very, very first piece of advice: research.
Yep.
If you don't know, ask. If they won't tell you, go look it up yourself. Although, to be honest, if you ask and they won't tell you, that's also a red flag that you need to be aware of, because that tends to be some sneaky stuff going on.
Exactly.
But okay, that's it. Otherwise, we're gonna be going forever. We're going to be going forever, and this is going to turn into a business podcast versus a writing podcast.
Right. Well, the two are hand in hand nowadays. Creativity and business go hand in hand, and I wish it didn't have to be that way, because that's the last thing sometimes I'm just looking at this business stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. But I understand. That's the whole thing. Very, very, very necessary.
It is, and it's just like, when you are an entrepreneur, you are your business. Like, the long, the short, the beginning, the end, the whole of it. So... yes, we are creatives, and yes, we like to focus on the creating part, but you have to have a business if you want to remain a creative, and 2, you have to engage in business if you want your writing to do more than just stay on your computer. Like, you're going to have to talk to people, you're going to have to interact, you're going to have to learn how to navigate and negotiate business deals and talking to people and being professional. And there's a whole side of it that let's be honest, none of us really likes it. We all hate it. We all like to be at the last minute, oh, my dog died, I'm so sorry, I can't come to this meeting today. No, you have to go, and you have to do the thing. But it's like, that's a whole nother thing. That's probably a whole nother podcast of just being an entrepreneur and creative in a business all in one. But understand that it is, and it can be done. And it doesn't have to be as complicated as a lot of people make it out to be. You don't have to have a manager to run a business. You can literally do it yourself. People do it all the time.
Absolutely.
But I'm ranting, and I'm going to stop. So there we go. Do you have anything else to say to the people, Mr. Alonge Hawes, award-winning writer?
I just want to say thank you, everybody who's been supporting the shows that we've been doing since Blue Collar Hustle. So since early 2017. We're trying to make things interesting for you. We're trying to keep things entertaining for you. And we're trying to represent Black people in a way that's not demeaning or degrading or defacing, but in a way that, seeks to uplift. Even if we have, so-called villains or complex characters, there's always a higher purpose for it. So just know that we're taking you into account. We love you. We care about you. The Black community to us is everything because it is us. So that's all.
All right. That's it for this episode, you guys. I will leave links to everything mentioned, Blue Collar Hustle, Black on Both Sides, and a link to Jaro so that you guys can check out the streaming service. And I will also leave links to where you can purchase my book, Keeping Promises, and follow me, C.E. Benson, and my company, Written in Melanin Publishing, on social media. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, then please share it with a friend. And if you have time, check out the YouTube channel. And on there, I post videos every Friday. So, yeah. Thank you guys for listening. And until next time, I hope your days are lovely and your books are interesting. Bye.